How's everyone doing tonight? Please make some noise, because listen, we are here for a celebration tonight. I was invited up by Brad, and I was overwhelmed that I was chosen to kind of MC this thing. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Josh Bray. I'm slightly known on the internet. I do a lot of 5 reasons. I got 5 things to know before going to the gun range with the Caucasian friends. And I noticed there's a lot of Caucasian folks in here tonight. Thank you for having me and inviting me up here in front of you to speak. It used to be like auctionist to be up here, but it's not. It's okay, you can laugh at it, it's okay. We're all friends tonight, I swear, I promise. I'm not scared at all, because I'll call the police on everybody in here, even the children. Even the kids. Somebody told me that John was really into guns. Is this true? Is it? I mean, we do all know John personally, right?
Yes.
I hope we do. Okay, so was he into guns? Allegedly? It's either the truth or is it alleged? Oh, you got me? With your nice beard and stuff. With your sleeveless shirt. I would have liked to have met John. Like I said, I have a video on the internet called Going to the Gun Range with Your White Friends. And that's who I went to the gun range with. I went at a time where it was cool to go. I just didn't understand why so many guns were brought into the gun range. As I went into the gun range with my friend, he just started unloading ammunition and ammunition and ammunition. And I'm like, do you grow bullets? I mean, at night, do they just come to you? And another thing, does anybody go to the gun range? Let me stop talking about it first. Make sure everybody's included. Anybody goes to the gun range?
Oh, yeah.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. I got a question. Why does shooting not bother you? Like the pow noise. It scared me to death. It did. Any of you guys ever been camping? Camping. We got some campers? So I'm going to focus on this side of the room because y'all look adventurous. Y'all like they go out a lot. I decided to go camping with some of my white friends. They invited me. They told me the rope trick. Who ever heard of the rope trick? That's why I was confused as well. Black man, white in the woods, white man with rope. Why do you have so much rope? No, Josh, it's okay. You gotta put the rope around your body so the snakes don't come. I had the same reaction, like, yeah. Right? I wish I could have known John, though, because from the list of things I got, sounded like a fun person. Now, there's a rumor, and please correct me if I am wrong, that John made alcohol when he did some time. Is this true? Who keeps saying allegedly? John is still with us, man, because you know what? He is legend. He made alcohol in jail?
They wouldn't let him make guns.
Listen, I don't know if I could have made it in jail. So you mean to tell me he went and got drunk, got tipsy? It's hard to be tipsy. I'm gonna have to get John Tubbs tattooed on me. Why he couldn't be my stepdaddy? I am kind of light skinned, a little bit. Reading through some of my notes, right? They said, John and his friends, nowadays people don't know how to go outside and play around, right? Kids don't want to go outside, Toys R Us is closing down, we blame you. We blame you. All they want to do is download apps and be on the iPod and play Candy Crush and stuff, right? John and his friends used to play Army guys with real weapons. Does John have any children? Josh, John was your daddy? John was your dad? Congratulations, sir. But real guns? Like real weaponry? I just wanted to play freeze tag. John, please don't point that at me, John. There's a scope on it. The beam is real. And they also said that during the holidays, now listen to this. Now this ain't even a white thing. This is not. This is a John needed a hug thing. They said that they would go to the airport and wait for planes to fly over and then shoot the deer. Pow! So you can have meat for the holidays. Who thinks to do that? You know, I'm gonna talk to the Lord. I'm gonna talk to him. I'm kind of scared, but I need John to come visit me in my dreams because I gotta sit down and have a conversation. He sounded like a very, very interesting man. You ever seen the DeSakis commercial? Most interesting man on the... They was talking about John. He making alcohol in jail. He shooting when planes pass. He got more guns than country. A lot of y'all probably too young to know what country is. I like y'all. You guys are enthused. I like y'all. Y'all do. Oh, John. John played with real guns. Okay. Now, my favorite comedian, one of my favorite comedians is Don Rickles. Anybody know who Don Rickles is?
Yes.
Love Don Rickles. The reason I love Don Rickles is because he's racially inclusive. He makes fun of every single body. Don Rickles once said, who knows who Sammy Davis is? He once said, Sammy Davis, my brother, give me a kiss. He kissed him, and when Sammy Davis turned around, he wiped the black off his lips. Hilarious to me. Love Don Rickles, and John was a fan of Don Rickles. Here it says here he had a special relationship with a Jewish woman. I don't know why this is relevant, but if you're Jewish, mazel tov. Okay, so I take it everybody here had a relationship of some sort. Probably not the younger ones, but did everyone have a relationship with John, or kinda, a little bit, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Now you don't look like a shy bunch. Does anyone want to say any words or share any memories? And I really encourage you to, because tonight will be a night of celebration. Tonight will be a night of closure and thought, and to show John, even if he's with us in spirit here, that we appreciated him while he was here in the flesh. But we also know, are we all Christians tonight? We also know to be absent in the body is to be present with what?
The Lord.
Say it again.
The Lord.
Hallelujah. There you say it again. Amen. I like you with your cute little mustache and stuff. Your wife better hug you. This your wife?
Right.
Okay, listen, this is not a thing. Okay, this is...
Sister.
Let's talk about John some more. I just made this out of the restaurant completely awkward. But we got Jerry Springer for that. What'd you say, beautiful?
I said we're good.
You? That's your sister? Y'all cousins too? This is what's happening in Jacksonville? Jacksonville? I might have to move up here. Everything's accepted. I'm playing, I'm joking, I promise. Y'all are not, never mind.
Daddy was Rolling Stone.
You was a Rolling Stone? You rolled stones? You did stones? You rolled? You want to be my daddy? I've been looking for a father for the last 33 years.
I've been talking to black kids before.
Listen, brother. Yeah, I knew you had... All my friends are black. I'm going to be the token tonight. That's okay, because y'all deep in here. I ain't going to fight you. It's a lot of y'all that want me. But I brought my insurance policy with me tonight. You know what they say? Once you go white, your credit is all right. Okay. Let's start this off like this. Let's do something different. I'm in NC. I'm a comedian, and I'm trying to loosen the crowd up. And you guys have been very receptive. And I'm pretty sure Brad, who put this entire event together, appreciates that. But I told him, you know what? I'll get up here, I'll soften them up, and you guys are going to be willing to come and just share a few words about John. Can we do that tonight? Okay, so I don't want to point nobody out. I don't want to make nobody start tonight with any words. So who would like to talk first? Come on, be beautiful. We're all family here tonight. Y'all got a black cousin tonight. Once y'all leave here, y'all can add me on Facebook for the night.
Brad's our leader.
And you can get like a pass in Jack and Kill, Florida.
Come on, Brad.
No, Brad. I want you, Brad. If you don't mind, I would like for you to go last. Is that okay? Brad, you look so good tonight. You look like a thin Drew Carey. Anybody ever told you that?
No, nobody. Actually, somebody.
Like a thin Drew Carey. Okay, besides Brad, because Brad's gonna go. Brad has something very special towards the end of the program. Anybody else? I'll even bring the microphone to you if you don't want to stand up. This is about celebration, and this is about closure, and this is about good feelings and good vibes tonight. Everything that said will be appreciated and received well. Okay, so we're okay. So who? The what? Is Josh your son?
Josh is my son.
You pushed that out? Oh my gosh!
Believe it or not,
You pushed out a semi truck.
he was only 3'10" at birth.
He was what?
3 pounds 10.
Nah, 3 feet tall at birth. He got on a camouflage flower shirt. I've never seen that. Redneck Hawaiian. Okay, so what is your name, beautiful?
My name is Rachel.
Okay, this is Rachel, and you are?
His ex-wife.
You were his wife once. So that's all we're gonna worry about. Let's forget the ex. We're on positive vibes only. So what would you like to say? Take your time, beautiful. Take your time. This is church. Take your time.
Well, I just want to say that I know how much he would love to know that you all are all here. He appreciated each and every one of you more than you will ever believe. We had a friend in John. You had a friend in John.
I feel like John is here with me tonight. I just feel included right now. Do you have
He
any?
would have adopted you.
Why I gotta be adopted? Why everybody want to adopt a black kid? So all y'all Angelina Jolie in here tonight. Is this still a thing? We still popular? No, they say the season is black. Okay. So do you have any fun memory of John?
Oh, God.
Just give me one that is appropriate for everyone, please. Appropriation.
I've been thinking of this. So many of them are not.
Just give me one. Give me one with no curse words.
You want me to give you one?
Yeah, please.
Are you ready? Okay. We're moving on from Rachel and her great glasses. Hold on. Let's see who the handsome bald guy is, looking like a older Brad Pitt. Okay.
This actually is the gentleman that introduced me and John.
So he's the reason that you pushed that out.
Actually, he's the reason for him, yes.
So was he there? Was he there when he was being conceived? We want to know.
There's a damn good chance of it.
Did John make the alcohol? He probably did.
No, actually, no. We stopped at a place on the way from.
You know what? Well, let's stop right now because I don't want your son to see you in this light. Okay? Because he's turning cherry red. And that might not be his color.
She stopped in the back of my pickup truck's where she stopped.
No.
Wait, in the back of the truck? Rachel, no. Listen, we're not going there, Josh. It's over. We're stopping it. We're stopping it, Josh. What's your name?
My name's Mike Arnold.
Mike. Oh, you're going to be speaking in a moment, right?
Well, I'm a little shy.
Okay, you want to speak in the corner? You want to just stay here and do it?
No, please. I'm going to be up there.
Okay, I'll give you a second, Mike. Okay, let's see. Who else knows John? Who else knows John? You know what?
I say Kimberly.
No. Let's go to Kim. Let's go to Kim. I like Kim. Kim's an awesome name. Would you like to stand in front of the crowd, Kim?
Sure.
Get your 15 minutes, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna talk in bullet points. The way it went was 1985. I was 16 years old. I remember a maroon Jeep, some really cool dudes living in my grandmother's apartment, and having a place to escape and do things above mentioned. I also remember Lucky Strikes, and I remember a guitar. I also remember moving forward way to where I'm at now, in my place of employment, and seeing him in his last day. I will love him, and I miss him. I miss his phone calls, I miss him reaching out to my children, and he was just a great guy. He was the real moving dude, because he moved me beyond proportion. Sorry that didn't last 15 minutes.
Thank you. We appreciate you. I hope and I pray that in 98 more years, when it's my time to go, that I'm remembered like this. I'm serious. Every time somebody show up for something for me, it's recorded or child support or something. I can't take it. I don't have any more money. Let's see.
That's my area in the courthouse.
Child support? So you probably the reason I'm up here struggling.
Okay, and you need a printout.
I took the mega bus up here because of you. Okay? Tell them to give me my license back.
Only if it's a Duval County case.
I don't even know if I like Duval, because Duval's dangerous. Now you guys look like y'all was born in like 2007. Okay, do you guys know, did you guys know John?
We know Brad. I feel like, kind of like you, you know, John seems to have really impacted the people that knew him. So it's a great testimony of a man who has affected a lot of people, and we'll miss him.
Praise God. I like those words. You love him? You look like you love him. You blushing. You too old to be blushing. Stop it. You have children watching. Let's see. Who else we got? Who else knows John? Let's see. Let's try to. Does anybody on this side of the room want to say anything? I'm kind of scared of this side of the room. Because when you smiled, your mustache went up. I was nervous. I was like, you know what? He might be the guy that's carrying tonight. If it goes down, stay from this area. Anybody on this side want to say anything about John? Anyone? So, I mean, listen, we're all friends tonight. This is not for us. This is for the memory of John. So, if you're a little shy, let's be selfless tonight. Any words that you love him, you miss him, he's great. Did you know John?
I know Brad pretty well, and I think that pretty much anybody who sounds like they love guns and mayhem as much as Brad's friend did, then he must have been a good friend of mine, even though I've never met him. And I got an answer for you. You know why everybody wants to adopt you?
Why?
Because once you adopt black, you might get your benefits back.
So you're trying to steal my thunder, that's what you're saying. So that was like a Danielson karate kick right there. Don't you do that to me tonight. And you look thick sitting down, so I ain't gonna fight you. You already know the dudes that walk around with the regular shirts on in the middle of the daytime with jeans, no, you can have it. You're like you got strong hands. Strong hands. Anybody over this table? What's your name?
Donnie Maraday.
Listen to my daddy.
You know it. Donnie Maraday. I went to school with these guys, and you know, I haven't seen John, and it's been a long time. But when we were in school, even then he was a man's man. He outdoorsman. I palled around with these guys a little bit, and we had fun with stuff like that. Stuff my mom doesn't know. I hope she didn't see this video, but he was a good guy, and you know, it's unfortunate that I hadn't seen him in a long time before he passed away. But if you were his friend, you were his friend for life. Didn't matter if it was a minute, a day, a year, or 100 years. He was a good guy, and he's missed by a lot of people, and loved by a lot of people too. So enjoy the night, guys, and you know, if you have a memory of him, you gotta speak up. He deserves it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Finally, the most handsome guy in the room.
Mr. Griswold, his former boss.
Yeah, well, John had a lot of jobs. He's served his country. He did a lot of great things that I'm sure everybody's got stories about. But this was probably not, maybe not age appropriate or whatever. But I think Brad had just got out of the Army. We were riding around, and he had alter ego for a town called Zane Maximilia, veteran of 1,000 Wars. In the
Not me.
No, not him. No, he's got a new one now, Bradley Bolton. But anyway, we was in John's Jeep. Had drank, I don't know, whatever we could afford at the time. Case of Busch Light for $9.99 at the Winn-Dixie or Food Line. Stopped down on top of the hill. Another friend of ours ain't here tonight. I don't know if he's still alive or not, Buddy Wakeham. Pulled out some weed. Back then, we didn't have the kind of weed we got nowadays. You know, it was brown and sticky. We drove through some apartments to get what they call a nickel bag. It was like $20. And,
Jack and Kill, Florida.
Yeah. And so me and Buddy, I'm like, I don't know, these guys going to bitch at us for smoking weed. But John says, give me something. Brad looks at him with old evil eyes. And anyway, Brad continues. He don't let the circle go dead. He takes the joint in his hand. And it's a long story longer. We rode through, got stuck a bunch of times in the dirt, and ended up at Taco Bell, like $100 $100 at Taco Bell's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of food. And I don't know, it's been, I hope it didn't have nothing to do with the way he died, but it could have been the beginning of, we had a lot of fun times in between.
Okay. You know, that's a very John-like story. According to the night, that sounded like a lot of fun. I bet your stomach is still paying for that Taco Bell, though. You know, Taco Bell is 85% couch cushion.
Pizza Hut.
They don't even have meat in Taco Bell. Oh my gosh. This is off the cuff for me, though. Everybody that's here tonight, everybody, even the bartenders, you being a part of this moment makes you a part of the monument that is John, okay? So all you guys, when you leave here tonight, once everything is over, y'all got to understand that you are a part of the monument in the celebration that is John. And God, it just feels so good to be amongst good people, Christian folks. You can feel God begin to move into the room, even if it's slight tears, even if it's some whimpering. And I keep hearing a lot that John has passed away. When you believe in that word and you understand the Bible, you know you will see him again faithfully. Okay? So y'all got to keep that in your hearts. And the reason separation is so tough as humans, God implanted forever in our hearts. It's in our DNA. 200 years from now, if this thing is washed underwater and somebody finds our bodies, they can tell Josh Prey was standing here, I was a black male, I weighed this much, and blah, 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 where I was from. That's in my DNA. So forever is in your DNA. So it's okay to feel that way, that emotional connection. It's okay to tear up a little bit. That's all right. Nobody's going to judge you. We're going to celebrate you. We're going to praise you for it, for trying. That's why I'm happy to be here tonight. When I got called, I was like, how am I supposed to do this? I've never emceed an event like this, but I pray a lot. And once I got through talking to my daddy, my real daddy, okay? All right, my real daddy and my Uncle Jesus, I felt okay. When I walked in tonight, I just felt like I knew you all, and you all knew me, okay? So we're going to get into our first speaker tonight. Now, this gentleman drove 21 hours from Texas. I can't fly for 3 hours without getting uncomfortable and upset and irritated. He drove 21 hours. He left Texas to come to Florida. He left Texas to come here. He's a brave soul. That's different. So please give your full attention and energy to Mike Arnett. No, it's not Mike Arnett. We're not doing Mike? Oh, we're doing Big Mike from Texas. Why am I? I'm sorry, Danny. I just put you in a whole new state. Well, welcome to Florida where there is no walls. Listen. My Native American friend. I'm from Immokalee, Florida. I got a couple Native American friends. I'm allowed outside the reservation, though. My color ain't allowed on side. I play basketball, though. Y'all don't let us date y'all daughters. Y'all don't do that. That's a joke, Danny. It's a joke. I already know when you stand up, you're going to be like 6'9", 280. Please don't, like, give me... You Apache? Don't give me an Apache pound. I don't want that. I want my shoulders in that, okay? Don't y'all hate that when, like, heavy dudes and you try to play it off because you ain't thick as him? All right, so please give a round of applause and make some noise for Danny from New Mexico.
Which one is this? This one? That one? All right. John Tubbs. I remember John was a good friend, but it wasn't until Brad went off to the Army to basic training that we really came close. And honestly, a good part of that was Brad. He came, pulled me to the side, and said he was really concerned for John. John needed someone with him, and just he'd appreciate it if I was a good friend to him. Of course, that lasted till the end of John's life. I was with John when he accepted Christ as a Savior. And I was with John when he got baptized at North Jacksonville Baptist Church on Pearl Street before they moved. I was with John when he was the best man at my first 2 marriages. So maybe him not being my best man this time was a good thing. You know, so I'm just saying. I have memories of John that he doesn't want bought up. There was a night of Blackberry Brandy. He says, you're the only one that still brings that up, so I got to bring it up tonight. And that was Manischewitz for some reason, Blackberry Brandy. And I remember him getting to the point where he was trying to turn into a dog at the side of Biscayne Lake, where we used to go tromping. That was the night also we had to look for Brad's wallet, which we found in the middle of the street at the bowling alley. It was a camouflage wallet, and Brad, of course, is out there. We're looking inside the woods. He's like, who buys a camouflage wallet? But we found it. John was with me in a lot of different places too, because I wasn't just, I was with John. John worked construction a lot, and it mystified me. I wanted to do other things. I became a critical care nurse. I became an entrepreneur, did all this other type of thing. So, here, does this work better? Yeah. All right. John worked hard, and he was proud of it. He was one of those that go out there. He was a former carpenter. He'd psych himself up for work. He really prided himself on being a stairmaster. He had a good work ethic. He'd get up early, play his fiddle in his truck, and then go get to work and do stuff. And still, I was one of these types, I'm like, well, I can do this, I can do that. I don't have to work out in the sun and bake all day. But John was about doing an honorable day's work, and I really respected him from that. I was with John when he was getting ready to go to basic training to be a ranger. And we would run and time it out. And I remember the greatest part of that whole thing was we'd run down the end of his driveway and go dive in the pool. I was with John when we went tromping out in the woods with, the real firearm stuff. All dressed in camouflage and painted up. Brad was a big tromp meister as well before he took off. We all went our ways, I guess, when we joined the military in different directions. But John was more than just this person that was a good worker, ex-ranger, all this other type of stuff, things we would discuss. On his back porch of his barn, there was a sign called Where Men Gather. And that's where we would be. We'd gather, we'd talk about things. We talked about things such as what is the most important attribute of a knight, a modern day knight, warrior. And we came up with humility, humbleness. Humbleness in that office of authority. Humbleness where you have all this martial training, where you can take pretty much anyone down, but you've been given a position of authority, and the only thing that makes you not a monster is humility in your office, humbleness, and service. And that can be said for a lot of modern day knights. And at his heart, John was a modern day knight. He did want to serve. I founded an organization which rescues victims of human trafficking. We have teams across the country. I've gone all over the world doing this. And in the end, John called me up sometimes begging me to take him on these trips to help do something. And I respected him for that. I respected him a lot. But I want to tell you one of the things, though, about John was there was a time in my life where I screwed up bad. I lost my family, lost my life. It was all my own doing, my fault. Begging God for forgiveness. Shame to my bones, couldn't even talk to my friends. Then my mother passed away from cancer. She was my last patient. I was helping give her antibiotic treatments and things like this at the house. John came over. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I told him everything that happened and everything that was going on. I started bawling like a baby. And all John did was he just took me in his arms. He just patted my head, just let me have it out. Not many men that'll do that. And he just accepted me. He didn't shun me. He was just there for me. So a lot of times I might say I was with John, but John was there for me, especially when I needed it. As upset as I am right now about why he left so early, how he did it, I wish I could have been there for him better. Tonight I had about 2 things in tribute to John Tubbs. These boots I'm wearing are my work boots, steel-toed, oil-resistant. I shined them up real nice for tonight. It's probably the best they'll ever look. Yeah, John is one of those that said that he liked living a steady life, but that I did some crazy stuff. He said if I told him that I had Jesus Christ show up on my doorstep and when I invited him in for spaghetti, he would believe me, because those things happened to me. And yes, I'm planning some other business stuff that might seem incredible, but to support my family now, I met a deadline. If I wasn't funded by a certain period of time, I was going to pull a John Tubbs and go work and earn a paycheck. So the thing about it is, this hard hat is not John Tubbs. This one's mine. Right now I work out in the oil fields in New Mexico. And I do hard work in the sun, all that stuff I couldn't understand about John Tubbs. And I do 16.5-hour days. And of course, as a driver, I'm allowed to do 14. So maybe a little bit of logbook smudging. But John was a great man in showing me how to do a good job and to be proud of it. So tonight, I know that he would have really appreciated these boots and this hat. Other than that, I'll always love it, man.
We can clap a little bit more, please. Brad, we probably, no, I don't need you up here, Brad. Man. Yeah, he probably should have went last. Like I was over there arguing with my manager, like, what do I even get up there and like, do I still speak? I mean, man. I'm trying to like gather the words, right? Like, I want to apologize for everybody I didn't let hold me now. Like John did that for you? My gosh. That's a beautiful thing, though. That's a beautiful thing. And finding Christ is a beautiful thing. Christ found me. He found me, like, yeah. Thank God Christ found me. Because, boy, like 2 hours ago, I was off. I love the Lord, man. Come on, listen, man. God knows I love him. And I don't play with the Lord. But that's a beautiful thing when a person can be going through something and reeling, and God uses somebody as a vessel, right? And clearly John was a vessel. And that's just an awesome thing, man. And I pray and I hope that I become a vessel for the Lord's work. When at his time. I don't want to force it, and I don't want to run away and shun the Lord. So I pray that my calling is clear. I was telling Brad, tonight might be the night that this is my calling. Tonight might be the night. I don't know yet. We're going to see. But we're going to keep the celebration rolling because it is a celebration. And thank you for bringing us to that and making the next speaker feel more comfortable. I just struggled with that word, didn't I? Comfortable. Y'all laughing at me? That's a hard word to say. Comfortable. It is. It's difficult. You trying to show me up? Okay, school teacher man. Professor Jacksonville. Duval. I live in a county named Duval. I'm playing as a joke. Please don't fire on me. Put your gun away. Okay, so now I think I got this right now. All right? The next person that's going to speak, he's an Army veteran. He's a great hunter, an outdoorsy guy. Is that a real word, outdoorsy? Is that outdoorsy is a word? Outdoorsy is not a word. It's not a word. It's out. Hold on. Let me check with my white manager. Is that a word? We got a thumbs up. Okay, outdoorsy is now a word. Okay. He's a hunter. I just learned what field dressing was. Never knew what field dressing was. I thought it was the word dress in the field. That's not what it is. Any of you guys ever been, young lady, you ever been hunting? Never been hunting, huh? You know what field dressing is?
When you dress the deer out in the field, when you cut them up and all.
So you're just gonna embarrass me like this on stage. So as a fellow sister, we Wakanda right now. Black Panther just came out. This is what you gonna do to me? Nah, you banned. You can't come to the island of Wakanda no more.
Oh, was I correct?
Yes, you was correct.
Well, thank you.
My homeboy told me, hey, field dress the rabbit, Josh. He threw it at me. I didn't know what field dressing was, but you clearly did, but you've never been hunting.
I've never been hunting, but I know hunters.
You outdoorsy, huh? Wakanda. Y'all see how she did that? Y'all can do it tonight. Go ahead. Y'all can do it. Well, we're going to allow you guys to do it tonight. Just tonight, not tomorrow, though. Tomorrow, y'all better not do it in public. Okay, so please keep the celebration going. Keep making some noise for our next speaker. Like I said, hunter guy, Army veteran, real outdoorsy. Be careful shaking his hand, because when a man has served in the military, his hands are like shaking bricks. It's like shaking semi-tires. I said, hands, man. Let me introduce you, great bald head guy. Bald head men, so arrogant, I'm fine, because I'm bald head. Now, please keep the celebration going and make some noise for Mike Arndt. Arndt. It's Spanish, you gotta roll the R's.
Hey, John, could you eat one of those, please, for John Tubbs?
Vienna sausage, please.
For John Tubbs.
Is this a thing? Don't get this on camera. I want my mom to see this. I got my
Do me a favor, before you go. There you go. One more. Just one more. Just one more.
Charge for part of the contract. I got you, no problem.
No?
No, I'm straight. I got it.
Brad, where are you? There you are. Only you would remember that. You know, a lot of people are probably wondering about this skunk cap up here. I'm going to wait and let him completely explain that.
That's your story, brother.
But, John Tubbs, when he got out of the Army, he wanted to become the mayor of Skunkopolis. And that is such a long story, I don't really think it would be appropriate to go into that. That's better.
Yeah, okay. All right, keep going.
Josh,
Yes, sir.
one more Vienna
No,
sausage.
okay, I'm still trying to finish the last one.
Let's see, when I met John Tubbs, I had just gone through Ranger Rip, and I was assigned to the 1st Ranger Bat. John had gone through Rip through a different company, and when I terminated that, and of course the military sends you somewhere not so good usually, we went to the 24th Mechanized Unit. Closer?
Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
It's great.
And lo and behold, there's John Tubbs. And John Tubbs and I would, many times with another friend of Brad and ours, Dave Leathers, who was supposed to be here tonight. Did Brad ever show up, or did Leathers ever show? We'd sit around, drink sake, amongst other things. And one night we had our Was he, he was the newspaper reporter, Brad, but what was he assigned to? He was with Stars and Stripes. And Brad will never forgive me if I don't tell this story. So, we're sitting around, and this rather gullible gentleman, John actually kicked it off and got me going. We had convinced him that I had won a day with the Pope through a radio show. And of course, this gentleman from Stars and Stripes sat there taking in the whole thing and reporting it. He was going to actually put it in the paper. And I don't know if I should get into all the graphics there, Brad. There was, I'd really be dishonoring the Pope.
What was he dressed like?
Well, I'm not quite sure that that's appropriate.
Did he have clothes on?
Yes, the Pope did have clothes, and he had a rather sexy secretary, too. And he did have his guardians, his Israeli body force guardians. And I can't remember the Pope mobile, Brad. What was it?
We don't know how the Pope got the Israelis involved, but there must have been some interfaith cooperation.
And he wore a sweatshirt.
He wore a sweatsuit. A white
Your Holiness,
right?
the Pope.
The Pope.
Yeah. Anyway, this gentleman went ahead and decided to put this thing in the newspaper. I don't think it ever made it, Brad, did it?
Well, you were talking about all the bars you went to with the Pope, partying in Chicago. I mean,
Sounds like a heck of a story to me.
The Pope was a party guy.
That particular Pope.
Yeah, that particular. Josh, you're probably wondering about the Vienna sausage.
I am, because it's in my mouth.
One of the ways I used to like to torture John was we'd sit around. You didn't have much money because we blew it everywhere we went when we were in the military. We're eating Vienna sausages, and John would get a little tipsy. And throughout the night, I tried to get him to eat as many of those as I could. And to the point that just about every time he'd pin me down and start strangling me just to stop me. Actually, I think he knocked me out once over it.
I can see why.
But, yeah. What could I say about John Tubbs, though? You know, it's the lighter side of him that I always really enjoyed. The man just always brought a smile to your face. He made you laugh your ass off, actually. I mean, he was probably, you know, like Danny said, you know, when you needed somebody to go to, John would lighten up your day, you know, make you feel better. I would say he probably enjoyed that. It was therapy for him to help other people a little bit. I will miss him greatly. He is one of the best friends of my life. It was an honor to introduce you to him, Miss Rachel. Happy for you and your son.
I think.
Thank you. Don't really have a whole lot more to say. Brad, thank you, sir.
Well, thanks for coming.
Y'all just gonna let that man spoon feed me Vienna sausages like that? Y'all just gonna, what you say, sister? Vienna sausages is good eating? Baby, we've come up. We don't need that no more. Like, our Spam sandwiches days are over. We in a restaurant with a plethora, I said plethora, of food options in the back. They got rice, you got macaroni and cheese back there? They got mac and cheese back there, sister. They got some ribs. Was John half black? Was he really? Was he mixed? He had like, nah, John probably was like mixed. Prime rib, that's the expensive stuff. They ain't the Vienna sausages ribs. Is Indorsey an insult? Indorsey? The chef just told me to not call you Indoorsy. Indoorsy. So I'm gonna say it to your face. Cause you put Vienna sausages down my throat. In front of, even the kids seen it. I seen him, hey mom, look, he's gonna make that black guy eat Vienna sausages. And the black guy can't do anything about it. Well, son, no, we can't. Okay? Well, I'm outnumbered right now. But the Indoorsy man, I'm playing, I'm joking. You was in the army and you partied with the Pope. I don't want no problems. I'm straight. You shave your own head in the morning? Can I touch it? I want to lick your head. That's a joke. That's a joke. Calm down. Bald head people like that kind of stuff though. Kiss the top of my forehead. But that's your thing. This is awesome, man. Like, I actually feel like love in this room. And it's not even like pitiful love, or it's not come feel sorry for me love. This is like genuine, I missed the moment, and this is how I'm gonna have closure in that moment. Brad, when you come up here, this doesn't need to be that loud, okay? You guys gotta stop with some bass in your voice, because I'm yelling right now, Brad. Brad, you look so good tonight. You look like a whole snack tonight. You look like 17 Instagram likes. Please make sure y'all get pictures of Brad tonight. He looks great, man. Okay, so we've heard how Brad was a comforter for his friend, how he was a great guy, a partier, a joy to be around. We heard from his wife that it clearly goes down the back of bed trucks.
That is a bed.
The bald head dude said it, so I'm going with the dude that got the Vienna sausages. You were there too? John was a player. So it was like a tour.
It was a party at our house.
That's what they call it, a party. That's what we're calling it. Okay. The Bible did say be fruitful and multiply, but not in that way. It's a joke. It's a joke. Calm down. Gosh, so serious. I'm gonna get you to smile before the night over with. Or I'm gonna stroke your mustache. You. I'm gonna go. I just laughed. I got him. I got him. I ain't gonna touch her, I promise. In public, in front of everybody. I ain't gonna do that.
Put your hands on him.
Ain't no. Gosh, no. No.
Lay hands.
No. Where's she at? I want to say shouts out to the bartender for being great tonight too. She's awesome. The bartender has been awesome. Awesome. Okay, so that gets me a follow back on Instagram? For sure? I don't know about following now. I gotta be popping now. Doppelganger. Okay, so everything went great tonight. We had some beautiful speeches by some beautiful people. I've been involved, but now it's time for the gentleman that helped put this entire event together, that reached out to me, that when he spoke with me and my manager, he said that the Lord put this on his heart. And I didn't even know how to respond or say no to that. It was a beautiful thing. I've been booked for a lot of things. I've been involved in a lot of different areas. But something like tonight, it was like near and dear to me. So this gentleman knows John very, very, very well. I want y'all to please just make the loudest noise, the biggest applause, and be as receptive as you possibly can be for this gentleman. Just a beautiful soul, beautiful spirit, beautiful person. So please, without any further ado, put your hands together for Brad. Keep it going, come on guys, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
Man, Josh Pray is the answer to my prayers, I'm telling you what. I was trying to put this thing together, and there came a point where I just realized it wasn't going to work, that I needed help. And Josh has been out on the internet quite prolifically for quite a few years now, and somehow I'd never seen him until the day after I asked God to send me some help. And he had the same name as John's son, Josh, and he came about because I prayed. And just, when I watched him and saw what he did, and he reminded me of another good friend of mine, Mark Shepard, it all spoke to me. And so I called out to him, and he answered the call.
And this is kind of the craziest thing I think I've ever come up with. Oh Lord, I better come up with some notes. Maybe the Lord don't need me to have my notes. Maybe the Lord's got my notes. That's what I think. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. You know, I certainly wish John could be here tonight, but when he didn't show up at the 8th grade superlative dance to pick up his Most Shy Boy award, I knew he wouldn't show up for his own funeral. So, no shock there. But it's appropriate that we'd have a memorial service for John in a bar. You know, didn't have no problems getting him to go there. But also a bar down on Bay Street. John used to live on Bay Street. Nobody really remembers that. It's right across the street, but the time finally came when they closed the old jail and they moved him a couple of blocks over. And that's where he became the first inmate in the new jail to be caught making alcohol. You know, and we're on the news every night at the evening news for 8 months, and I'm expecting, you know, maybe my friends could tone it down just a little bit now that we're already under the prosecutorial eye. But no, not their style, not at all. I met John at St. Patrick's Catholic School. My last name starts with the letter S. John's starts with the letter T, so he was sitting right next to me every year at St. Patrick's Catholic School. And Coach Amiano told him that I was a clown and that if he hung out with me, he was going to get in trouble. Well, John decided to sign up for the clown show, because that's what we did. We hung out, we went to lunch together, we went out on the playground together. Anything we did at that school, we did it together. And the drawings that we got caught drawing in class when we were supposed to be working, they were amalgamation of really cheap 1970s horror movies and the Saturday morning cartoons. And they were very disturbing, I'm sure, for our teachers. But we were getting a lot of things accomplished, I'm sure. And we moved on to high school, and that's where things got real interesting, because it became clear that we really were going to join the military. And I'll tell you, one of the things that was always growing up that I should not overlook is John was always cooler than me. He had cooler things going on with him than I did. I mean, if you went over to John's house, you know, you got to play Army with real guns. They were picking up weapons that didn't work from the flea market that was being sold back in those days. And you'd have to actually carry heavy weapons with you to play Army. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But really, what I thought was even cooler than that was camping out in the interstate. Yeah, I know, I didn't think anybody would react to that, because nobody can imagine anybody going on a camping trip inside the interstate. But how many people here, right now, have been camping with John Tubbs in the interstate? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where the blackberries were. They were inside the clover leaves and the coolest trees and everything, and we built a fort in there, and that was little spots we would go. And nobody was going to sneak up on you. You were camping in the interstate. But the other really cool thing about going to John's house was his scary, scary, scary older brother, Mike. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do not go into Mike's room. But I would stand at the door and look inside Mike's room. And that's where all the really interesting stuff that would get me in trouble later on. That's where it all started. I mean, he was into the Dungeons and Dragons thing, so was John. They had those little miniature figurines up there. And he had more military manuals than I had ever seen in my life. He even had a rotating rack with magazines in them, military magazines like you'd see at Walgreens or something. And, of course, all the weapons and martial arts stuff. And speaking of martial arts, that was another thing that made John cooler than me. He was taking karate. He was taking karate, and I wanted to be as cool as John Tubbs. So one Saturday, riding my bike around the neighborhood, I found a garage sale, and I found me a karate book with instructions in it. I said, I can study this. I can learn just a few little things, and then if I can't be as cool as John Tubbs, I can pretend to be. problem is, John was taking karate from a guy named Jack Hogan. He was of the Military Order of St. Michael. He is a veteran paratrooper, and this would be the beginning of a big turn in my life. I came from a Marine Corps family, and now all of a sudden, these men are coming into my life who are all paratroopers, and Jack Hogan was one of them. So I'd get out on the playground after lunch with John with my garage sale book knowledge of karate and try to get John to spar with me, and he'd show me the difference between book knowledge of karate and actual instruction from Jack Hogan, what the difference in that was. And John just did what he was trained to do, and I just got a lot of experience falling down. Yeah, that's how that worked. So along came the day when we were in high school, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guards took over the American Embassy in Tehran. And I knew we were going to war. And I was 15 years old and decided that I was going to join the Marine Corps that day. That day. Well, not that day, but when I was at school the next time. And John was all in on that. He's going, yeah, I want to see this. So, I went up to the Marine Corps recruiter, told him, hey, this is my family's Marine Corps. I'm going to, we're going to war, and y'all need me. And he's looking at me and says, how old are you? I said, well, I've studied Marine Corps history all my life. I know I'm as old as some of those guys, y'all, that won the Congressional Medal of Honor, man. Take me. He said, no, go on back home. Come back when you're old enough. There'll still be enemies left for you to deal with. So during that time, I got to know more about John's scary older brother, Mike. Yeah, he went into the Army as a combat engineer and then went to Special Forces and went to airborne school. Once he went to airborne school, that was a thing. And then he got up to Fort Bragg and got through selection, and I started looking at this thing, and I'm going, man, when I was a kid, I'd watch them World War II movies, Longest Day, and they show them guys jumping out in planes in the dark, and said, man, that's got to be just as scary. I want to do that. I really want to do that. And then when I finally met people who did do that, well, it changed the course of my life. And John and I, we're going to go in the Army together. We're going to go to Special Forces and win the Cold War, and everybody would live happily ever after. So we started training, started getting all the gear. John Tubbs, these right here, they're jungle boots. I didn't know what jungle boots were till I met John Tubbs. They would become a major part of my life, and John introduced them to me. So we're rolling through high school, and the day comes I make my 17th birthday so I can enlist. John tells me before my birthday even gets there. You know that young Jewish lady we mentioned earlier, his girlfriend? Yeah, well, John told me he wasn't going in the Army. We always accused his girlfriend of ruling over him with an iron fist, but I don't think that's what she was ruling over him with. He just said he wasn't going. And so I got mad. I joined the Army. And I became a paratrooper. Went to 82nd Airborne Division. And it's all because of I was a friend of John Tubbs, and that was the influence that he had on my life. I changed my life and the direction of my life. And it was, I couldn't be the guy that I am today if John wasn't my friend. And then what was really cool was when the day came, when this man right here, legendary paratrooper, Sarge Martin, showed up at Fort Bragg and needed a job. And I was able to get him into my battalion. And I was on my way out. I had a little over a year left, and I'd already decided that, nah, I'm going home. There's some other things I need to do in my life, or at least try to. And he said, man, I can hook you up. My dad kind of watches over some apartments. He helps my grandmother landlord these apartments. And he's got some really nice places, really cheap. Yeah, I'm already lined up. Dirt cheap. 2-bedroom upstairs garage apartment for $150 a month. Now it's tiny, but so was the rent. The rent was tiny. So me and John moved in, and we got to meet the man who I refer to as the dirtiest old man I've ever met in my life, and ever will. Well, he was a wonderful man. He's a combat paratrooper with the 187th Regimental Combat Team, Korea War, and he could out-party us any day of the week, and he did. all day, every day. Sarge was up there taking care of business. We down here in Jacksonville having a good time, and too much of a good time. I mean, we had the police called on us more than once by this young lady sitting right here.
Because we lived a slightly different lifestyle.
A slightly different lifestyle for sure. And one of the officers who showed up that night is the chief security officer where I work right now. He should have taken me to jail that night, but he didn't. And it's funny how the circle of life goes. But there came a day when I had to depart the Martin Arms apartments because the ladies were just not leaving me alone. I couldn't sleep at night. I had to leave. You know how it goes when you're this good looking. I mean, it's a curse. So we moved up to the north side into the home that was owned by a nice young lady. She would eventually marry and divorce me. And we moved into her house, and we called it the backyard landing. We built a stage. It was right after Jacksonville Landing was being built as it got built. We had us a stage, had a big cargo parachute set up, Christmas lights up in it, had an Army GP small tent with couches, hideaway couches out in the backyard. Little kiddie swimming pool you could get in when it got cold. Had a bar. We even had a garden. And it was indoors. Yeah, oh yeah, we tried indoor gardening. We found this book by some dude named Cervantes, and it seemed like it was easy enough to do, so we gave it a try. We had no idea that it would really, how it would impact our social life. I mean, we built the backyard landing for parties, and well, how you gonna have big parties when you're got a produce operation going on in the house, right next to the bathroom? So, anyway, we were stupid, we didn't care. We sent out about 500 invitations to our first big Halloween party, and everybody had a good time, and nobody went to jail. Cops did show up. They brought the helicopter and everything, and there was a lot of law breaking going on, but a lot of the police officers were people we went to high school with, so nobody went to jail. That's a nice community that we used to live in way back when, and people didn't have to get all crazy when they got a call from their, from the citizen, with somebody needing assistance. So, anyway, there came a time when we had to terminate that whole operation over there. And that was one of the nights that John just decided he'd help me out like he always did. And there we were about 9 o'clock at night riding down 6 lanes of Dunn Avenue with big drum liners full of green stuff, some of it sticking out the back, and it's flapping in the wind as we're going down the road trying to get rid of it. But the Lord was looking over us that night. So we was able to get rid of that. See, I'm going to tell these stories because if I don't tell them, see, they ain't going to get told. Tonight's statute of limitations has officially run out. We can do it all. Well, I mean, seriously, man, there's some pretty funny stories going on. Well, shortly after that, John and I, in fact, did get married. Everything was going smoothly. John had that nice life, and I had that nice life I was looking for when I got out of the Army. Everything was going smooth, but then it all of a sudden wasn't going smooth. For the first time, I saw John getting a little belligerent after drinking some alcohol. And I thought maybe John had a drinking problem. But he did, but he had another problem that he addressed by challenging someone to a duel because somebody couldn't go find their own wife, had to go find his, and dared call himself an ordained minister. So, John offered him pistols or swords. Said, if you ain't got one, I'll give you one, but we're going to handle this. And he said, well, what are we going to do? We're going to kill each other? And John just calmly said, no, only one of us is going to die. Then he lit a cigar. He took care of, and that's how his first marriage ended. And I only say that because I got to tell you that there's some big things that happened next, and it's played a big part of it. About 10 days later, it was on a Friday, his estranged wife was going to come by and get her stuff. After I got home, I told John on Thursday, I said, man, don't do nothing stupid. Please don't do nothing stupid. So I got home from Friday, fired up the grill, got ready for my weekend, and I got a phone call from John, and he's sounding really upset, and he says, look, man, I need your help. I got something going on over here, and I need your help. And if you say no, I'll totally understand, but I can't talk about it on the phone. Can you come on over? Well, I think you know where my mind probably went at that point, what had happened. So, went and got some rubber boots, some rubber gloves, some coveralls, some bleach, some Visqueen, some duct tape, you know, the usual stuff. Threw it in the van. I'm going, oh my God, body disposal. Body disposal. That's what I'm going to have to do tonight. So I'm driving to John's house, and I'm coming into a T intersection at Cole Road. Now, there's a dead end at this end where John's mother lives and where John lives, and there's a couple of neighbors that live down there, and then there's the Bacardi rum plant, and then you go to Main Street. So I'm driving toward this T intersection, and I see this ambulance coming from the dead end side of the road with its lights off, not going fast, and a police car behind it with somebody in the back. I'm going, oh man, I got there too late. But at least I ain't gonna get dirty. So I decided I'd go down there and just see what I was gonna see. You know, the big crime scene unit still taking pictures and all that. I knew what I was gonna see. I didn't see none of that. None of it. So I pulled on up, knocked on the door. There's John. No dead bodies, no blood, no nothing. Just like another day. I said, John. I said, what's going on? He said, I said, did everything go all right, you know, with Cheryl today? And he says, oh yeah, she's been and gone. I got bigger problems to think about right now. I'm going, oh, okay, all right. Well, I can't hardly imagine what that might be. You know, what's going on? Do you know anything about my brother stealing an M16 up at Fort Bragg? I started laughing. No, I don't know about him actually stealing them. I know about us trying to steal them. I mean, you know, M16, M60, Mod Deuce, anything that does anything that we want. We was trying to get it. We were a little silly when we were young. But I never knew that he actually, you know, Mike ever actually got away with that. But apparently some folks Mike thought he did. Anyway, this had started a massive federal investigation and this and that and the other, and wanted to know if I knew anything. I didn't know anything. I mean, I could suppose and probably be hitting all around the truth and just, you know, close enough, you know, for horseshoes and hand grenades. No pun intended. Yes, actually. But anyway, it was a pretty serious deal. And John had a couple of things in his house that he wanted to get rid of because he thought, well, maybe if they start looking at Mike, they might start looking at me. And he had, you know, some pretty harmless stuff, but stuff you don't want to have, but nothing that would hurt anybody. I'll haul it out of there, no problem. So I go back, fire up the grill again, and I've got a home repair. I got some friends coming by later on. I've got to snake out the sewer line after I eat. And you know, the plumber comes by, and he's a friend of Mike's, and I tell him what happened. And you know, I'm all worried about what's going to happen to Mike. He was over in Saudi Arabia as part of Operation Desert Shield. They flew him straight out from Jacksonville. Flew him up to Fort Campbell, took him off. He was out there. He's coming back under house arrest. We didn't know what was going on. And my friend said, well, maybe we should just, if Mike was still at Fort Bragg, we could just get up the road and get whatever it is out of his house before they get there. Well, that wasn't the case. Mike was the 5th Special Forces Group was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky now, and I hadn't gone there by anything other than aircraft. But then there was this gentleman coming home from the police academy that night, and he saw that there was activity at my house and wanted to see what was going on, so he pulled in, and that would be Mr. Daniel Benedict sitting right over here, who was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So it took a beer to hear what was going on, and 2.5 minutes thereafter to decide that we were going to break all applicable federal laws that would keep us from trying to protect our friend from, you know, all that junk he's got in his house, apparently. So that was the beginning of a huge federal case that set a record that stands to this day. Now, my attorney said that of me, that my client has engaged in one of the most monumentally stupid stunts imaginable, but it wasn't the product of a criminal mind. And I like that. That was, I mean, and he's a famous attorney too, Hank Cox. I mean, he became president of the Florida Bar. I mean, when Hank Cox walks into a courtroom, you know, people listen. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. We're all going to be all right. But we're on the news every night. We're the lead story. I mean, Dan Rather's got us. Bill O'Reilly's got us. I mean, they're making celebrities out of us. So I go down to the jail to visit John one Saturday, and I'm getting a little panicky, you know. This thing's starting to look really, really ugly, and I'm starting to come up with some silly ideas as to how to handle it. And John leaned forward against that glass, made me lean forward to look into his eyes. And what he said to me was, you need to go home and pray. That's what you need to do. That's what needs to be done about this situation. So that's what I did. I went home and I prayed. And then came the day when the federal informant stood before the grand jury and testified against John and Mike. And I was in line to be testified against the next day. And I'm driving home from work, and it's the old WOKV. I'm moving on north on 95, and I hear, 16 count indictment handed down against the Tubbs brothers. If convicted on all counts, they're going to get 165 years, my heart's saying. And I'm going 16 counts, and I can get 5 years conspiracy on each count. I done got 80 years I'm looking at before they even get to what I've done yet, all on my own. So I start freaking out, man. I said, man, that's the one thing that ain't going to happen to me in this life is I'm going to prison, man. I promised myself and everybody that it wasn't going to happen. And here I am, straight up staring it down. And there was only one way I could figure out to handle this. I knew where the federal informant was. He was not under protection. I knew exactly where he was. And underneath my front seat, I had a loaded 45 caliber automatic combat pistol with 2 spare magazines. And that was going to be enough to handle the situation with the federal informant. I knew where to find him. I was 30 minutes away. And then after that, I would turn the gun on myself because, like I said, I ain't going to prison. And I was only 4 years out of the Army. You know, such thoughts like that are not really foreign to a soldier. You give your life to the guy next to you without thinking about it. And, if I took out the informant and took out myself, well, there's nobody to testify against John and Mike. So I decided that was what I was going to do. And as I was realizing at the age of 26, that I had about 20, 30 minutes left to live, it started to sink in that what a shame. What a shame. My mama did her best to raise me, and this is how it's all going to end. So I started crying uncontrollably, hysterically, couldn't hardly breathe. And I just started screaming out like a lot of people do when they're crying and they don't know what else to do. I mean, at least somehow they just start screaming out. And I started screaming out, oh God, please help me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it was all I could do I just kept saying that because it was the only way I could actually be able to breathe. It was hard for me to breathe. And God is real. So he answered me. It was very specific. Now, it wasn't anything in my ear. It was a rational thought that came from somewhere that was implanted in my head because I was not capable of rational thought at that time. I was having a hard time breathing and keeping my vehicle on the road. So here's what God said. When I'm hollering out, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? God said to me, you will go where I send you, and you will learn the lessons that I teach. And at that moment, something physiological happened to me. It was like every capillary in my skin was open wide. And there was a sense of warmth over my entire body, but not just that. It was a sense of peace that I had never felt before. Like everything was taken from me in that moment. And I knew that I wasn't going to die in 30 minutes in that moment. I knew that I was going home to my family. And that God was going to send me someplace for a specific reason to learn lessons that he teaches. So, I went to federal prison with my buddies. And it's an amazing thing, you know, they threatened me with all kinds of time, but in the end, without any witnesses, because we all kept our mouths shut, they had to make plea deals. So here I was facing 80 years. I got sentenced to 1 year in prison, 3 years supervised release. Now you see how the enemy had my mind. I was ready to kill somebody and kill myself, and then I stand before a judge, you know, a couple of months later, man, it's 1 year in prison. I've done 1 year on the toilet in the Army. I mean, come on. Seriously, 1 year, come on. So, but it was a horrible experience. I promise you, I lost my family. I mean, you know, lost a lot. I was calling out to God every night for help. Not necessarily getting an answer, but you see, when God does an answer, that is an answer. He's trying to make you think. So, one Friday night in federal prison, they had this thing called Toastmasters. Danny and I were members. It was the only place in prison where you could go and have interesting conversations about, you know, things other than overthrowing the government and all that. You can find that kind of talk anywhere, but here we were supposed to have been big-time terrorists and all, and we didn't have no public speaking skills, so I don't know how we was going to overthrow anything. So we went to Toastmasters, and Toastmaster meeting was separated into two parts, and the first part is these little things called table topics. A topic master comes up with 10 topics, and everybody gets 2 minutes to respond to each topic. And the last topic of the night, on this particular night, was the topic master, crazy guy named Barry, smuggler. He, and he didn't smuggle for money. He deliberately smuggled weed to get people to chase him. It wasn't really about the money, it was about adrenaline. His family was tied up in Walmart management. They had more money than they needed. Barry started out smuggling chickens from the Winn-Dixie and Vero Beach to the Bahamas in a John boat. That's how his smuggling career got started. Yeah, I ain't gonna tell you how it ended because there's children here. But he said in his topic, I'm an atheist. I do not believe that God exists. But I know that there are people in here tonight who would rather die than deny that God exists. And I want one of you to come up here and prove to me that God exists. And you got 2 minutes. I'm sitting at the back. I'm where it's safe. I'm going to sit there and hide, see. I'm going to let other people get up there and talk because I'm not going to get up there in front of these prisoners, okay? People who have done serious time, who have heard every stupid story you can imagine because it's how we entertain ourselves. But they can pretty much see through lies and see through deceptions. And how was I going to stand there and give what I consider to be evidence of God's existence in front of people that just aren't going to take anything but the facts? And so I sat there not wanting to embarrass God, but in fact I was embarrassing myself in front of God because though I was sitting at the back of the class where nobody could see me, guess who was watching? Yeah, that guy who gave me a wonderful Christian mother, you know, who raised me in a wonderful Christian home with plenty of instructions. I mean, I even went to school with John at St. Patrick's Catholic School, and I went to church, and every night I'm calling out to God to please help me, and now I'm going to find it comfortable to hide when somebody wants me to do my best to prove that he exists. Well, it wasn't very comfortable at all at that point because I knew who was watching. And so just as I was about to close out the topic, bring the gavel down, I weakly raised my hand, and Barry calls me up. Now I get up to walk up there, and there's this old man, veteran of the Korean War, 82nd Airborne Division, 187th Regimental Combat Team. And I'm walking up the aisle, and he turns to look at me, and he gives me this sly gangster smile. Now, Cato was doing 7 years for illegal bingo. Yes, he had bingo houses and illegal bingo houses in North Carolina and Tennessee. Interstate commerce, man, they wrapped him up. I mean, it's big money up there, apparently. Video games weren't as popular as they are now. So Cato's looking at me really funny as I walk up, so I go and I give it my 2 minutes. And it was kind of like a car crash. I mean, I know it happened, but I'm not sure exactly what all happened, but I remembered a few high points that stuck with me that I talked about, and gave it my best. And I don't know if I convinced anybody that night, but I won the table topics, which meant I got a big Hershey's chocolate bar with almonds that I could eat with my coffee later that night when I was watching Headbangers Ball, trying to stay up all night writing letters home. So that was a big night, but what the bigger thing that happened was, after lights out, I'm going to the bathroom, and here comes Cato, walking down the aisle. They got the night lights on, little blue lights, looks kind of spooky. Cato's wearing his old man pajamas, and he's got a toothbrush in his hand. And he looks like my grandfather. Cato had a physical resemblance to my grandfather. And in these pajamas, I mean, he really looked like my grandfather. I mean, he looked so much like my grandfather that when my grandmother and my Aunt Lorraine came over to visit me one day, Cato's in the visiting room and my grandmother's flirting with Cato. And I'm going, this is the most redneck thing ever. Your grandmother comes to visit you in prison and starts flirting with inmates. But, you know, Cato was a high roller and he's a good looking man. So Cato meets me in the aisle as I'm headed to the bathroom, and he said, I knew you weren't going to keep your mouth shut tonight. I said, he goes, yeah. He goes, I don't have to really know you to know that you're a Christian. I see how you carry yourselves and how you treat others. And I just knew you weren't going to sit there and keep your mouth shut. I knew better. And I was waiting for you to speak. And I went, that was the greatest compliment that anybody's ever given me. And it took me going to federal prison to get it. Because what happened that night could have only happened there, the way it happened. I was a prisoner, and I was in front of other prisoners, talking about how we begin to find our freedom. And that's by at least acknowledging that God exists. So that stuck with me, and I've spent the rest of my life trying to perfect my presentation of the evidence that God exists. And that alone has made me a better man. And that could not have happened if John Tubbs hadn't been my friend. Now let me tell you something else that happened that couldn't have happened if John Tubbs wasn't my friend. Like I said, he was really much cooler than me at all times. And in the 7th grade, his mother got him a Les Paul Deluxe Special Edition guitar. Man, that was a prize guitar. And you know, nobody else had one, pretty expensive thing to have. And I said, man, one day I'm going to have a guitar like John Tubbs, and we're going to play music. So John got out of the Army in 1985 and spent Christmas. He drove up to Fort Bragg to visit me and his brother. And that Christmas, I finally went out and bought a guitar, and what you have sitting right here. That was the bass guitar that I bought in 1985. And we tried to play together. We always wanted to have our own band, but I just didn't have the skills. And one day I'm sitting outside my doctor's office waiting for him to get back from lunch, and this gentleman starts talking to me, and he breaks the conversation with political talk. And he asked for my opinion on something, and I was pretty sure that he had the opposite opinion of mine, but I gave him my opinion anyway. And instead of calling me a Nazi or you know, baby killer or, you know, any of those other things that conversations typically degenerate to in about 10 seconds nowadays, this gentleman did something else. He didn't see me as his enemy. He saw me as one of God's masterpieces. He saw me as a child of God that Jesus Christ bled and died for. So he invited me to church. And the church was right next to us because he was Bishop A. Paul Spalding and he of the New Beginning Soul Saving Ministry, Inc. So he invited me into church, and I went in there, and it was a storefront church, a little tiny little thing, you know, within sight of my front porch. And I hadn't been to church in a while, but this place even smelled like a church. And he said, "You play an instrument?" I said, "Well, I own an instrument. I don't know about playing it. I ain't never really gotten any good at playing it." And he says, "That's because you ain't never tried to play your instrument in God's house." See, God made your fingers, and God can make your fingers play. So bring your instrument on down here. I didn't know that I was talking to a former keyboardist with the James Brown Orchestra. And I brought my instrument on down, and it wasn't but him on the keyboard, everybody on the vocals, Fred on the drums, and me on the bass. And we raised the roof off that place. And I ain't never done anything like that in my life. But I stepped out because a man invited me to church and told me to bring my instrument. And it was just something to feel that bass guitar humming against my body while we're singing, and it's all in tune and it's all in one accord, giving praise to God. It was a different kind of worship experience than I'd ever had. And it would have never happened if John Tubbs wasn't my best friend. I'd have never bought this guitar. If John hadn't come to Fort Bragg after he got out of the Army, because that's exactly what you want to do when you get out of the Army, is go to an Army base, right? Yeah, he came and visited, and we went out and bought this beautiful old Ibanez Akstar bass guitar, and it's been abused, and it's still here. And since I've left that church, I haven't played it again. I know when and where I can play it. And that was all because of John Tubbs. Now, I'm going to talk about the fact that he went out in a horrible way. He left this world in a horrible way. I've learned some of the physiological issues that would have been involved in that. And I can say for sure that he hadn't been in his right mind for some time. And the things that he did that just made us crazy were not the things that he would normally do. He hadn't been in his right mind, okay? For some time, because he was dealing with addiction. And we're going to talk about that because, I mean, if you think that John might have gone out of this world in a bad way, well, he was given some speed bumps to try to get his attention. Most people don't. Most people go to bed and they don't wake up because their poison came in the form of a pill instead of a bottle, okay? Or then there's a pothead who thinks he's okay because, you know, you can't kill yourself with marijuana. Trust me, I've tried. You can't. And but what happens when you're driving down the road smoking a joint and you drop it in the floorboard and you go to reach for it and you swerve into a telephone pole, or worse, a family? Do you think your driving skills killed you? Or lack thereof? No. It was your addiction. Then there's the internet addicts. I'm one of them. They think they're okay because the internet ain't going to kill you. No. It'll just rob you. It will kill you. Plenty of people with gaming addictions have dropped dead. I mean, I used to run around in the interstate with firearms. I didn't need no video games. But that's not my addiction. I was right there with John when all the fun got started, so you can imagine what it feels like now. Not much fun anymore. But there's this thing that we learn in the Army. You know, you'd be down in the jungle, you'd be hungry. Jungle's full of monkeys. Now, monkeys ain't all that good to eat, but you can eat them. But it's real easy to catch them. Because you take a coconut, you bust off the husk, you get out the inner nut, you pull out the water nut, you drink it, because that water nut's good for you. Then you take your knife and make a little hole in one side of the nut, and you run some parachute cord through it, and you tie a knot, a big knot, you pull it tight, where it ain't going to pull out of that coconut. Then you take the other side of the nut and you grind it till there's an open just big enough for a monkey to get his fist in it, to get something. Then you take the end of that parachute cord and tie it to the bottom of a tree, go find you a little pebble. And in those days we had C rations, not MREs. You had this little foil wrapper around this little chocolate bar called a John Wayne bar. You take that foil off and you wrap it around that pebble and you put it inside that coconut. The monkey's going to come along because he's been up in the tree watching what you're doing. They're very curious. They want to know what's up. They know you've got stuff and they know they want it. So they come and check out the monkey. The monkey comes down and checks out the coconut and he sees something shiny inside. So he reaches in and he grabs it. And he can't get his fist out. And he's tied to the base of a tree. And that monkey ain't letting go. That monkey's done saying something that he wants, that he likes, that he's got to have. And so he holds on to that thing and he can't get his fist out. and he sees you coming along with a machete or an e-tool, and he knows he's getting ready to become dinner, and he freaks out a little bit, but he ain't letting go. He's hanging on to what's in that coconut because he wants that more than he wants to live. And so, what I've got to say is that most people have got something that they're hanging on to that they know if they hold on to it long enough, it's going to kill them. Or it'll ruin your life. It stays tied to a base of a tree, so, you got to realize that sometimes you just got to let go. You got to let go so you can live. So that's what I did tonight. I came up here and told a bunch of things that I'm sure most people wouldn't want to tell about themselves, especially since I'm up for executive clemency. Somebody's going to see this on the government might see this on them online and just decide no. But I thought there was something more important tonight to do here than to worry about me. I need to look at this lost and dying world that we're living in, where people are shooting each other over simple differences of opinion, over things they can't even change. And people are spending a lot of time on the internet and forgetting about their neighbor right next door. We read horrible story after horrible story in the newspaper every day, and we say to ourselves, how can it get any worse? Well, wait till next week. That's all you got to do. So at a certain point, we got to learn that God is real, that he loves us, and that he wants us to love our neighbors. And so tonight, I've got something special that I've got for everybody in this bar. I've got this nice little DVD. We've got gift wrapped up here. And it's a beautiful DVD. It's made by a gentleman named Dr. Ray Comfort, and he takes my 2 minutes at Toastmasters in federal prison and turns it into 102 minutes with all the science that is available today to give evidence of the existence of God. Now, there's another miracle in this too, because see, it was Good Friday 2013 when I saw my first Ray Comfort DVD, and inside every Ray Comfort DVD he asked people some simple questions. And these questions I asked of myself, and when I did, I didn't like the answers, because for the first time I saw myself for who I really was and not who I thought I was. And it was an uncomfortable moment in my life. And it was really uncomfortable. Easter Sunday morning service when a good friend of mine had passed away, and I knew for sure he had passed away the night before unexpectedly, and I knew for sure that he was spending Resurrection Sunday with Jesus Christ. And I knew that based on me getting to know myself for the first time on Good Friday just before, that I'm not sure if I left this world that the outcome would have been the same. And so I tried to hide again at the back of the church when the invitation was given for me to come down there and repent of my sins and turn back with the Lord like I had been raised to be, like I thought I had been all this life while I was living like the devil. But there wasn't no hiding from God then, so I got down and I repented, and God gave me a new life. I was close to being homelessness. I had bottomed out myself with my addictions and my wayward behavior. I had brought myself to near total destruction, but I called out to God, and he rescued me. And instead of me sleeping on a bench in Hemming Park tonight, we're all eating prime rib and giving glory to God on the eve of Palm Sunday. And so I've got something special for everyone here, and I hope they'll take it. These are gifts. Without John Tubbs in my life, these gifts could not exist for you to have tonight. And so I hope you'll all take one home and let the gift that God gave us when he brought John Tubbs in this world just be an eternal gift that keeps on giving, because though the enemy took my friend, the enemy does not get the last laugh. We're having the last laugh tonight. But this is laughter that's going to go on throughout all eternity, because the enemy that took my friend is already defeated. And I hope that that you'll let go of whatever it is that you're holding on to and grab onto something that's eternal and real. And that's my invitation. That's my hope for everybody here tonight. And I hope you'll come by and get these gifts that we had flown in from California just to be here tonight. And thank you for coming out.
Well, yeah. Can we give another hand, please? Like at the end of that, even if you were just a friend of Brad's and you're not a friend of John's, you gotta feel like you know John now, right? Like you gotta feel close to him and like invited, right? Every story that was told tonight was an inviting story. Every single story. And I wanted to end the event or this moment because this is what I was brought here to do with comedy, but I'm not moved to do comedy. I was just thinking as Brad was speaking about all the experiences, and Mike came up, gave an experience. The other Mike came up and gave an experience. And I was just saying to myself, I was like, you know, this is a thought. This is a thought I want to leave you all with tonight when you go home, right? I've never been involved in an event like the event tonight, ever. It's the first time. I was praying that I was strong enough because I tear up. I'm emotional. I get sad and you know, emotional sometimes. But something just dawned on me. Brad spoke deeply about Jesus Christ, right? Amen. And I don't know how well everyone in here knows the word. I don't know it verbatim. Some things move me. Some things still kind of have to grow on me. When I pray, I ask God for wisdom and understanding. But there's a passage that I like. The passage says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Right? So I'm not a pastor. I'm not ordained. I love the Lord, though. So I'm going to say it again. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Do you all know what liberty means? Liberty is freedom, right? So, one more time, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. So as I was sitting over there, and I was thinking to myself, there's freedom in this room. There has to be freedom in this room because not immensely or overwhelmingly, but you gotta feel the Spirit of the Lord in here. Now, this is not a church. There's not a cross outside the building. This is a bar. But in the Bible, Jesus taught outside. That has to be powerful because these walls are just walls. This is just a building, but the church is you. And if the Spirit brings liberty, that's freedom. Tonight, for anybody that had any ill feelings about the way they last saw John, anybody that had any feelings of guilt, just know tonight there's liberty in this area. So that's freedom, and you should practice that. It says the captives are made whole. There's rest for your soul. You can leave here and rest peacefully tonight. There was everything, even the stories that weren't appropriate. There were still stories that you understood. And the situations brought change to people in ways that it wouldn't have happened. It's a saying, the gospel can come from the lips of a sinner, right? The truth can come from the mouth of a liar. John put Brad in the mics in situations that are just like, oh my gosh, no. But it all wrapped up really well. The common denominator, Jesus Christ, right? So I just want you guys to know that I feel free. I feel the Spirit in the building tonight. There's liberty here. So if you guys had any dealings or troubles with closure, I want to say I didn't know John personally, but I feel like I know him. I know enough information that I can sit up and tell the story about the Pope when we parted. I can tell how I drank alcohol in the prison that John made. I know John had guns. And I feel okay now. I feel way better than I felt before I came in, because I was a little bit nervous, like, how do I do this? What do I say? I don't want to say the wrong joke. I don't want to step on the wrong toes. And I want to be able to MC this right to the best of my ability. So I prayed deeply before I came. But where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. And you should feel liberated tonight. So, Brad, thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me out. Please give a round of applause for Brad one more time. Please, thank you like so much. The production was second to none. This is a beautiful setup. Kind of makes me want to body slam somebody with the backdrop and stuff. I kind of feel like I'm in the 80s. Want to wear a Speedo or something and rip my shirt off like Hulk Hogan. I ain't gonna do that. I'm kind of chubby with scratch marks. But yeah, man, thank y'all for having me out tonight. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this monumental moment. Please take the gifts that Brad has for everybody. Pay attention to them. Love your loved ones. Pray for those that struggle with things. Don't look down upon anybody, because you don't know what anyone's struggles are. And just be thankful for life. And I'm not gonna even say if, somewhere, some way, John is in the building. I know he's looking down and he's appreciating this, and you guys can rest. So thank you guys for coming out. My name is Josh Pray. I've had a great time emceeing for you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. But Lord, 'tis for thee, for thy coming we wait. The sky, not the grave, is our goal. Through the sky, oh trump of the angel, oh voice of the Lord, blessed hope, blessed